Hello and welcome back to the channel. Another collection video that we have for you today. We've done a few now, as I'll be showing you. I think we've done the 3DS, we've done the DS, we've done the Wii, we've done the Wii U, we've done the N64. Today we're doing the Mega Drive. Now I haven't uploaded all those, so some might be on the channel, some may be coming in the future. Today I am recording Mega Drive. We've got about 50-ish, 45, 50 games to get through, so we're going to jump straight into it. But first, we are going to start with this little adaptation for the Mega Drive. You plonk this in as if it's a game here, and essentially what it lets you do is put Master System cards in here. So I have a huge Master System collection, and that video will be coming out at some stage too. Now let's get into the games. Primarily, my games are typically actually complete in box, but we do have 6 other games here that are cart only. So we're quickly rapid fire through these. We'll do some boxing, try and get the box over here, or the game, and then I'll put a little bit of gameplay in here where suitable. I'll do a little 30-second synopsis of each game if I can, or some would just skip over, like FIFA 96. Literally no reason to talk about this one. The cart's quite interesting because it's one of those EA carts that are specially designed so they didn't have to pay the licensing fees to Sega. Otherwise, nothing else really to say about this one. A very good game though here, Batman for Mega Drive. Obviously all these games are for Mega Drive, but this was a pretty cool 2D side-scrolling platformer action game. Had some good visuals in this, and there was also driving sections that weren't that particularly good. And the reason why these are cart-based is because I got them later on in life. Most of these games will be from my childhood. This one here, Ranger X, picked this one up because it is it's very dirty, but it was quite a tricky game to get hold of. I think it's quite rare in power regions, and it is quite sought after. It's quite a popular game, that one. Again, 2D action, adventure, shoot 'em up type thing. Next one here, we are rapid firing through the carts because boxes are better, aren't they? We want to get to the box games. Lion King, classic Disney 2D side-scrolling. Preferred it on the Mega Drive than the SNES. There were some differences between the two, but a very hard platformer there. And again, another classic Mega Drive game, Dynamite Eddie. So I'm surprised there was no sequel. We've never really seen, other than in compilations, we've never seen Dynamite Eddie return, and it's a very unique type of platformer side-scroller. Side-scrollers all the rage back in the 16-bit era. Obviously with Sonic and Mario leading the charge. Aquatic Games here, starring James Pond and the Aquabats. Actually a really fun game. It was like International Track and Field, where you have to rapidly tap the buttons to do different things, but had some unique fun sort of mini games in it rather than just your standard, you know, hurdles, javelin, etc. There was trapeze, there was some interesting little games on this one, quite fun. Now we move on to our boxed. First one, we're starting with a bit of a unique one here because this was actually came with my console, so we had to make up a little box for it because at the time all my games were boxed, as I said earlier. This one being a 6-in-1. I believe there were several versions of this. I don't know if this is the 6th iteration, but it had some all-time classics on it. So Sega Soccer, not that great. Columns, classic that rivals Tetris. Super Monaco GP, okay racing game for the time. I wasn't really into it. Then we had Revenge of Shinobi, which is incredible. Sonic 1, obviously all-time classic, and Streets of Rage 1, which actually is my favorite 2D fighter brawler beat 'em up. Absolutely fantastic game. I prefer it to Streets of Rage 2 just because there's like a cadence to your attacks. It was simple, but if you got the cadence right, you could go through the game almost unhit. Which I have almost done a couple of times, but that last boss gets insane. Anyway, interesting little box there to play those games with and have it sat on my shelf saying 6-in-1. We just about changed the camera angle there. Sorry for the slight wobble, but here we have another Disney arcade classic side-scroller, Tailspin. Probably one of the more forgotten games. It's not your typical DuckTales or Lion King or Aladdin or whatever in terms of how good it is, but it is still a good little side-scrolling game. I do recommend it. It isn't as popular as those other games, but so it is a bit cheaper. and everyone should potentially look at that one. Here's a really good game that, again, no one will really ever talk about. Super Baseball 2020. I believe this is on several different consoles. There is a helicopter or airplane or something flying over my house. I don't know if you'll pick that up. But this one's really fun. So it's your standard baseball, but it was... I didn't understand baseball when I was a kid playing this from the UK. But I understood the concept of hitting the balls, running around the bases, catching people out, etc. And this broke things down in a very easy and understandable way. And it was fun and straightforward to play. Very enjoyable baseball game. The first, well, other than the compilation, the first of many Sonic games that we have here today. A bit of a random one with it being Spinball, a pinball spin-off. No pun intended. Actually, a very fun game, but just really challenging. You had to do very specific objectives and reach different score criteria. I know I'm holding it slightly off center there just so you can see screenshots, but it was very fun, just really hard. I don't think I ever even got past the second stage. I don't even know how many stages there are, but good variety, just missing a few little tweaks on that. The missions made it slightly too hard. And again, another random Sonic game, 3D Flicky's Island. So this was Sonic's first attempt into the 3D world towards the back end of the console's lifespan. And it kind of missed on most accounts. I quite liked it at the time. I didn't really understand why it was so negatively received, even in my school circles. I thought it was a good, fun game. It's just a shame that most critics didn't. I get it's not fast-paced, and it probably felt a bit like a reskin of some other game. I don't know if it was, but I thought it was pretty good. Okay, moving on. I have actually put the background muffler on because I realized it's workmen outside doing some digging, so hopefully you can't hear the background noise. This new microphone that I've got should muffle it out. Anyway, Strider here, all-time classic, more known in the arcade circles, but the Mega Drive did a fantastic job here recreating and capturing that vibe. I actually really like this game. A lot of people prefer the sequel. I think this one's underrated for platforming action games on the NES. I do see the camera shaking a little bit, so hopefully when I review this, the footage is fine, but I propped it up a bit higher than usual just to get the glorious box art in frame, and it is making the camera wobble slightly. Hopefully it's all right though. Gameplay should hopefully distort that anyway. So Road Rash here, what is it, Road Rash 2? Yeah, Road Rash 2, probably the best Road Rash. They enhanced things from the first more basic version and just a lot more enjoyable, a lot more playable. Play it with 2 players now. I don't think you could do that in the first one. And yeah, obviously there is 3, I think, Road Rashes, and it's just crazy that EA has done nothing with this license in years. They did try and do some 3D versions, but I think in this day and age it could be super popular. Anyway, Streets of Rage 2, awesome game, but just not, for me, not as good as the original. Sprites are much bigger, combos are much more complex, but still quite simple to pull off. I just think that the first one is just better. I know I'll be on my own saying that, but it is what it is. Great game. And here is another great game. I do love the Mega Drive, you know. I think it is mostly better than the SNES library. However, I did have a Mega Drive, more games on the Mega Drive than I did on my SNES as a child. Toki 2 anyway, going ape. So this is kind of a spin-off. It was an arcade, very popular arcade game, and the arcade version was ported to various consoles. However, when it came to Mega Drive, that was a big wobble. When it came to Mega Drive, it kind of got its own spin on things. It had similar vibe to the arcade game, at least initially. And then as you move into the second level and so on, it really is its own game, and it's very unique. A lot of character though, still that classic Toki character, Toki character, I don't know how you pronounce it. Really good game though. Now a much lesser game here. Probably won't put any gameplay up of this. Double header though, so really good value for money as a child, or even as an adult, I suppose, at its release. EA Hockey was actually super fun. I might actually try it out now just to see if it is still as fun as it was. And John Madden Football, the first Madden on various consoles here, obviously on the Mega Drive. It played very well and was very popular, obviously spawning off a mega franchise. But a good little collector's box to have there, the double vision. Now, this one is a Japanese game. I've got 2 Japanese games here coming up. I don't know if this is actually a knockoff or not. It's very sun damaged. I bought this much later life. Shadow Dancer here. Japanese box art was just tremendous, much more appealing than the UK or PAL variants. And essentially, this is a shinobi game. The shinobi with your little wolfy friend here. Really good though. Secret of Shinobi actually does say down there. But yeah, highly recommend this. I think it's very expensive these days, so that's probably why I got the Japanese cheaper version. And the other Japanese game I had, Rolling Thunder 2, again, amazing box art and a very interesting platformer action game, side scroller. I didn't like it as much. I believe it's just based on the arcade Rolling Thunder game, and this is a sequel. I don't know if it's anywhere else, possibly in the arcade still too. But yeah, good fun. And actually, this one is a hidden gem, if you will forgive me for saying that phrase. Cheeky Boys. Again, I think this is an arcade port, but I think it's actually 1-to-1, and it is super fantastic. Again, side scrolling, but these kind of cartoony, almost anime type style, bubbly graphics, very unique, pretty crazy arenas and levels, very fantastical. Very creative. Really recommend this. You can play it 2-player. Just playing it at 1-player. It does get a little challenging towards the end, but you can complete this in one sitting. Not super long, but there is replay value there. Okay, next game up we have is a bit of a letdown, at least for me anyway. I was a big Looney Tunes fan when I was younger. This has Escape from Mars. Absolutely love Marvin the Martian, and that setting of being up in space and being in Mars really appealed to me. Unfortunately, this game does not do it justice. It's a bit clunky, it's a bit slow, and it just doesn't work very well. But it's a good one just for the box art, if you ask me. And another classic here, Afterburner 2. Not a huge amount to say about. I don't know why, but in the UK, when I was a kid, some games were labeled as Genesis. Obviously, I don't know if it is what is it called, an import from America or not. But I had this as a kid way back in the early 90s, so I don't understand. It'd be very odd to get games from America when they're so prevalent in power regions. Anyway, the good flight sim. Speaking of classics, here's another one. There is just loads on the Mega Drive, if you ask me. Alex Kidd and in the Enchanted Castle. Not as good as the core Alex Kidd game that you have when you turn your console on. I guess that was on the Mega Drive, on the Master System though. Either way, this is a good platformer. Alex the Kid just never quite took on like Sonic did he? And here's a game that I guess kind of inspired the best basketball game of all time, that being NBA Jam, Arch Rivals, the arcade game. So it is a port here, but it works really well. It's just your 2-on-2, I think it was 2-on-2 basketball action, but with no real penalties. So you go around punching and grabbing and throwing people around. Good fun. Here we go with probably the best game on the system. Definitely the best Sonic game of all time, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I just realized I am missing another cart as well because I have Sonic and Knuckles somewhere in my collection, cart only, and obviously you could plug this in and play Knuckles in Sonic the Hedgehog 2. But personally, this, as I said, is my favorite Sonic game of all time. I think the level design's perfect. I think Tails being in the game adds a little something, although he's a little bit annoying. I think the enemies, the boss fights are all amazing. The level variety is awesome. The colors, the animations, it's all just a perfect game. This probably is truly a perfect 2D platformer. And another great game, Mega Bomberman, I should say, because there are many versions of Bomberman, but this is the best one. Maybe the Saturn, where you can play up to 16 players, but I think this is the best. Outside of that, no one really owns a Saturn, do they? At least not in the UK. Bomberman, Mega Bomberman, the party games you could have with this is fantastic. Even the single player, just playing against AI, is awesome. Can't remember if there's an adventure mode. I think there is, but it was really about the multiplayer for me. Getting those additions of those kangaroos were just pretty epic as well. See here, you get a multi-tap because obviously standard console can only have 2 controllers. Game here that's not that good. Graphically, I think they were trying to be too impressive. F-22 Interceptor. I think it was going for that like 3D style, a bit like Star Fox, but it just didn't quite have the grunt to pull off. The frame rate's probably better than that on the SNES, but the gameplay is a bit slow, and it is a proper sim-based game for the time. And here is FIFA 95. Won't say too much about it. 96, obviously, we've spoken about very briefly. Again, spawning an all-time classic franchise, but I didn't particularly like it back in the day. Whoa, Earthworm Jim 2 there. That was a very Earthworm Jim introduction. One of my favorite games on the system. I don't know how many times I could say that, but I do just love the Mega Drive, I guess, and I didn't even realize it until doing this. Earthworm Jim 2, I think is better than the original. Obviously, it's a sequel. I think the level design is better. I think the music is better. I think the visuals are better. The animations are better. The gameplay itself is pretty much the same, but you have a lot of different bonus stages that change things quite dramatically. There's like even a quiz show that happens at one time. Anyway, I think it's a great game. I think it's better than the original. And it's a shame what's happened to Jim since his poor N64 outing. We are cracking through these now. We have another one here, Wonder Boy in Monster World. Again, I think this is kind of... when I was a kid, this wasn't that popular, but as I got older and older, and especially in the last sort of 5 or so years, Wonder Boy, especially this version, Monster World, has really caught on popularity. I know they remade it recently as well, with you could flick between the art styles. I think the art style, that's probably a loud bang, I think the art style is probably better here in the classic form than it was on the remaster, but just a really fun RPG, kind of light. You do get upgrades, you do advance your points, your stamina, etc., and you get different weapons and things, but it is more just an action platformer. Interesting little game here, a bit different from everything else. Wrestle War. Cool box art with this Super Jack guy flexing. Don't really remember too much about this. I don't think it's a particularly good, fun wrestling or fighting game, to be honest with you. Speaking of wrestling games, here's a bit more of a classic, Super WrestleMania. I played this quite a bit when I was a kid because I was really into WWF, but it really doesn't hold up well. It didn't really hold up well at the time because it's very slow paced, not many moves, a lot of button bashing, not very many game modes, but if you're a fan in the day, you probably played it quite a bit as well. I guarantee you that I also had WWF Raw. However, I cannot find that now looking through my boxes here, which is a bit odd. I've just given away the next game, which is actually not... oh, what's happened here? That's very sad. Not very spoken about. Man Overboard. Made by Codemasters, which was a UK company back in the day, and well, still is. I don't know if they're still going actually. Either way, this is a puzzle game. A huge 100 levels of essentially you're one guy on a ship that's sinking. Hence the title and this cool box art. And you have to go through each level trying to rescue people and getting to the exit before timer runs out. Speaking of basically that same synopsis, but here you are playing as Krusty, Super Funhouse. When I was a kid, this game, I thought that it was like an unlicensed game because there's no audio. It's just Krusty. The visuals are really poor. You don't see any of the other Simpsons characters, like not even the family, but not even like other characters in the world. It's just Krusty, as well as some mice or rats or whatever they are. Again, very strange game. I can't recommend it. One I can recommend though, Mickey Mania. Again, this is on various different platforms. I think it probably is best on the Mega Drive or the PlayStation because you get better audio quality on the PlayStation and some 3D cool side-scrolling levels. But this is pretty awesome on the Mega Drive. Again, it kind of takes you through all different eras of Mickey Mouse, which is why it's cool. If you're a Disney fan, cartoon animation style, you start from his early days on Steamboat Willie and you go all the way through to the modern day. Pretty interesting. Only a handful of games left, 10 games left here. Speaking of Mickey Mouse, we have World of Illusion, starring Mickey and Donald here. Again, very, very popular. Really, I mean, most of these games are super popular and people will remember them, I think. I don't know if I was just lucky as a kid getting all these, or just had some sixth sense that these games were going to be well received and popular for a long, long time. This game, again, is your side-scrolling action-adventure platformer, but just, yeah, really good. Speaking of another side-scrolling, this one not so well remembered, but I think it was good. Again, better on the Mega Drive than on the SNES. I know people are going to you were team Nintendo, you're going to say the opposite, but I think the music's better in this. I think the controls, the movement, the frames, just a bit smoother and slicker here. Not a great game though. You had to make sure you collected a certain amount of things before you moved into each level, which kind of slowed things down, but made you explore, I suppose. Thinking of that game, oh, I've just seen actually one of them. I'll be quiet because I thought I was missing another game, but we will get to that in a moment. This game's awesome. Again, on various consoles, I think on the SNES, well as an arcade version, but actually I think this is even better than the arcade version. I don't know why. Captain America and the Avengers, I don't know if this is still popular these days. It should be, because it's actually a really good game and it really works well on the Mega Drive. Don't know why. I think it just is smooth, and it is challenging, but you get infinite lives. To a point, I think you do run out of continues eventually. In fact, I don't think I ever completed it because it does get really hard at the end, I seem to remember. But back in the day, I played this tons because it is awesome. Even the, I think that Iron Man, if you pick Iron Man, he goes, Iron Man, in a funny voice. And I think that was used in Black Sabbath. Is it Black Sabbath? Version of the song Iron Man, I think. Another sports game here that's actually not very good. In fact, this one is actually, here we go. So we are missing a couple of games. I might just put these two back to back because I said I was missing Raw earlier and it was here. But now I've gotten down to the end of my stack. Australian Rugby League, I had International Rugby Union, or I can't remember what it was called, but basically a reskin of this, but with the rules slightly different. Obviously in League, you go down at the tackle, everyone moves away, and then you move the ball on, and you get 5 or 7 attempts to score. Obviously, League's Union's much different, and I don't know where that game's gone. It must be in a box somewhere. But anyway, it's not a very good game. WWF Raw, built on Super WrestleMania, and again, it's you get slightly more moves. I am moving the camera there. It's slightly more moves, slightly more characters, slightly better visuals, but it's still that core game. And it's just not very good. Back in the day, though, it was pretty epic. Last 5 games, we will start... Well, they won't be in order, but we'll start with probably the worst one. Grand Slam Tennis Tournament Grand Slam. Don't even remember this one, in all honesty. Looks pretty boring, though. I do like tennis games, but that looks dull. A good one, though, now to move on. Decap Attack. This is a really good platform. I did buy this in later life. As you can see here, £5 though. What a bargain. Again, it's a bit more creative in the platforming because you played as whatever this guy's name is, and you had your skull that you could kind of have on top of your head and then use it as a weapon or use it for different unlocks and stuff. A good, interesting game. Yeah. Again, it's something you could re-release today with better graphics, to be honest with you, because it was good. 3 games left. We'll save the best out of these for last. So here, the first one we have, James Pond 3. Not that good. I actually really loved the original James Pond and then James Pond 2. I think I played the original on the Amiga, well, and the second one, but the second one seems to be on every console ever known to man. James Pond 3 just isn't as good. You get this new green guy that you sometimes play as, I think, but it was just, something was missing, something was off. It's not your cartoony, fun, creative world with all the Chubba Chubs and penguins. Now you're off in space and there's no licensing, and just not a very good game. This is actually a good game though, and no one really ever talks about it. It's a little bit clunky in the platforming department, but it's trying to be something very different. It's one of those cool hippie type games. Green Dog, of course. I will say the name of the game, but it's good. Big animated sprites, creative levels. You get some it's not just you have a yo-yo as a weapon, but then you also get these cool vehicles to fly around on for different parts of the level. I think this is a good game. No one ever mentions it these days, and it is very much of that early 90s vibe. Then the last game, which is still very underrated, and again much better on the Mega Drive than the SNES, Robocop vs Terminator. Strange crossover. I don't understand why they ever made this game, but I'm very glad they did. It's gory for a 16-bit game based on licenses like this. It was super gory. You play as Robocop. fighting your way through waves and waves of Terminators and other human enemies and other robots. Got hard towards the end. Not sure if I ever completed it, but I did sink a lot of hours into it as a kid. And that is it. There is close to 50 games there. Just with that one game missing, that one rugby game missing, which is very strange. But I'm not that bothered about it because it was pretty poor. Let me know what you think is the best game that I've got, and also the best game on the system in your opinion. And tell me if you were Team SNES or Team Mega Drive. We do have a SNES video coming at some stage, but because the boxes were cardboard, it is cart only, or predominantly cart only. And anyway, hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you in the next video.